Hi, my name is David, and today we're going to be reviewing Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Now, Throne of Glass takes place in the world of Aurelia. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Aurelia? In this story we find Selena Sardothian entering a competition to become the king's personal assassin, as well as earn her freedom, because she's currently a slave. Right off the bat you feel for Selena because you get the impression that she doesn't have any real family or anyone looking out for her when she first arrives at the castle. She's alone, and she was also a slave, and she was whipped and beaten. So right away you are really looking for her life to get better. You're really rooting for her life to get better. You're like, she's starting rock bottom. Things can only go up from here, right? I mean, yeah. Selena is a genuinely good person. She makes it really easy to root for her. She goes out of her way to help others. She's clearly the hero of the story. At times, she does seem a little petty or vain, but it's not enough to make you hate her or anything like that. It's just every once in a while you'll roll your eyes like, there she goes again. Like, But I guess everyone can't be perfect like Jon Snow. Dorian, one of the two love interests. Yes, this is a love triangle. So there's two love interests. And Dorian, for some reason I wanted to keep comparing him to the Darkling. I don't know why, but I really want to make that comparison. Except the Darkling has a lot of things that make him unique and really cool and interesting, whereas Dorian is a prince who likes to read. That's about it. I know there's a dynamic with his mom and his dad, and he has issues with them, but if you left him on an island by himself, he's just a guy who likes to read. That's it. But he does seem like he has a good heart, for what it's worth. And although he sounds like a boring character, yet I was rooting for him for most of the story. Until the end, when I switched over to Kale, because it's a healthier option. Speaking of Kale, that's the other love interest in this story. He's the captain of the guard. He is your your average good guy. That's it. Just a good dude. The intrigue comes when these two good guys catch feelings for Selena. And I don't think that's a spoiler because early on you can see this is clearly going to be a love triangle. The mystery is, who is she gonna pick if she picks anyone at all? She did enter a competition that could change her life. And that's the major plot line here in the story, even though it feels like it's mostly about the love triangle. Although there's the main plot line of having a competition to become the king's assassin, but the secondary plot line, which is the love triangle, it seems like that's on her mind more often than the competition itself. How these guys feel about her or how she feels about them, those are the things that she really thinks about. Now, if you were looking for a badass female assassin that actually goes around killing people and straight up like murders them, and you want graphic, violent action, then I would suggest you pick up The Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. That is a great book. Just throwing that out there. I will say, the major and secondary plot lines, they both come to a satisfying resolution by the end of the story. You're not left with the cliffhanger of like, oh my god, who's gonna win or who's she gonna pick? No, there's clearly a winner at the end of the competition, and she does seemingly reject one person and accept a different one. Throughout the story, there's other plot lines hinted at, and you get the impression that maybe in future books they'll explore these things a little more, and it's good because any sort of cliffhanger that might still be there has to do with things that weren't really important in this story. This story introduces monsters and magic and does a great job of it. And I don't think that's a spoiler because this is still a fantasy. And if you're gonna have fantasy, if there were no monsters and magics, I'd be pissed. I wouldn't even want to read it, So I don't think it's a spoiler saying that a fantasy has monsters and magic. It does. I enjoyed it. The world building here is awesome. I had the feeling we were just beginning to scratch the surface of all the secrets of this world. And I really look forward to reading the rest of the series because of that fantastical element. And I really look forward to reading the rest of the series because of that fantastical element. And the Throne of Glass is just a cool concept. Half of the castle's made out of glass, and that just seems like it's a really cool picture just to have in your head, to think of like this building and structure. And it seems like everything in this world holds secrets. Even Selena's room. She spends feel like most of the story is sitting in her room, but it's not as bad as it sounds because there's mysteries to unravel even in her room. Even in her bedroom, there's things going on that she has to figure out and get to the bottom of. And there are so many characters that seem like they have secrets that they haven't even really begun to talk about. But it seems basically overall this world is full of secrets and magic, and I really look forward to reading the other books. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the writing style. And now it's gonna sound like I'm shitting on this book, but I'm not. These are just some observations, some things I noticed that some people like, some people don't, but just want to point these out. For better or worse, the chapters are really short, and chapters will end in the middle of a scene and then pick up the next chapter, will continue the scene. Some scenes even last, 2 or 3 chapters, and that's fine. I get why you would do that. A lot of contemporary authors have shorter chapters. I think it's a reflection of our shorter attention span. I think a lot of us have a shorter attention span than previous generations. So by having shorter chapters, it's just another way to keep our interest. When you end a chapter in the middle of a scene, you're more likely to keep on reading because you want to finish that scene. And then, before you know it, you knock out 50, 60, 70 pages, and it just kind of keeps you reading. I did notice that Sarah J. Maas likes to repeat words 3 times for emphasis. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just once you notice it, you can't unnotice it, and so every time it would happen, the air bubble rised higher, 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 or the room grew hotter, 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 or whatever word that she wanted to use and really emphasize, she would just say it 3 times in a row. And every time I read that, I would kind of stop and be like, oh, okay. There, she did it again, and it kind of took me out of the story. Briefly, not a huge deal, and it did seem like every scene had a consistent tone. The moments where she's sitting alone on her bed and the climax, neither one felt more important than the other, which isn't really a good thing, but I understand, again, I think that's just this writer's style. The booktuber Paperback Dreams actually had a really good video where she goes a lot more in depth than I will about it, about the tone in her Kingdom of Ash review. I'll link that video down below just so you can check it out, and she does a good job of kind of explaining that throughout the series, Sarah J. Maas consistently wrote like this. It is what it is. So the way I'm doing my ratings for 2019 is I'm having a tier system. I'll put this in the B tier for fantasy. Throne of Glass was interesting and compelling enough for me to pick up and continue reading the other books of the series. It was good. There was a few things I think holding it back. It was still a good YA fantasy novel. I would say check this out, but I think I'm the last person on earth to read this, but I'm pretty sure everybody else has already read this and I'm the last one. So I don't know who I would recommend this book to, but if you haven't read it and you're actually the last one, not me, then yeah, check it out. I mean, if you like fantasy, it's worth checking out for sure. As long as you're okay with love triangles. I know it's a trope, but it's one I don't mind. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know. Just let me know down in the comments below. Alright, until next time, later.